Hey guys, it's Samantha from Black Nation News. And first, I just wanted to say I really missed you guys. I had like a lot of stuff that came up this past week, and I wasn't able to record my videos like I wanted to. So let's just go ahead and jump right in because I have so many things to talk to you guys about tonight. It's just wow. I was seeing so many topics while I was browsing through the news. Because I love, you guys know I'm a news junkie. If you don't know, I'm a news junkie, and I always kind of set aside like articles and stuff that I want to discuss in my videos. So first, we're going to get right to it. So Joe Biden, if you don't know, he has entered the presidential race, and I don't know, like, I feel like he's being more hyped up than what he really is, but you don't want to be caught sleeping ADOS. So you want to make sure we keep an eye on every candidate, um, because we just cannot get it wrong come 2020. So they're saying, if you look at this first article, USA Today, it was a day ago, they said that Joe Biden is a 2020 Democratic frontrunner, but now he has a target on his back. And I've seen like a lot of things discussing Joe Biden having a lot of like support based on polls that I don't really know where these polls have come from. Um, but they were saying former Vice President Joe Biden gets a polling boost in his first week. And then they have videos just talking about some of the voters and how they feel about Joe Biden. And speaking of voting, so I have some great news. I recently moved to Maryland from Virginia. I'm actually from Virginia, Northern Virginia. And I had to get I was kind of concerned because I really didn't want to get a driver's license, but I didn't know like what it was going to entail to get one because had a VA license for so long, and I just renew it, online or whatever. But so I had to get a driver's license, and they asked me if I wanted to register to vote, and I could not say fast. I couldn't say yes fast enough, guys. Like I was so happy because I was so like kind of stressed out about having to get the driver's license and what I was going to have to do. I didn't know if I was going to have to drive a car or like what was going to be involved in that, having to get a driver's license in a different state, that I didn't even think about the chance to like, it would give me the chance to register to vote. Because I knew I was going to register to vote in Maryland, obviously, to make sure my voice is heard. From here on out, I'm going to be voting in local elections and national elections religiously, like every election I can get myself to. Excuse me. And I believe that's important for all ADOS peoples to do that. Because when they say your ancestors died for you to have the right to vote, that is true. But as I always say, they did not die for you to vote Democrat. So I actually voted unaffiliated. And I think I actually mentioned this in my other video, but I'm just so excited about it. I cannot wait to exercise my right to vote the first time there's any election happening. I definitely will be there, posting my ballot. And I just feel like, I just wanted to tell you guys that just how important it is to get out there, register to vote, make sure you're registered, please. And because 2020 is kind of like we only have this, I feel like we kind of have like this one shot to get it right. And if we don't, we're going to be paying for it for centuries to come. Like it's so important that we get this right, guys. And it's not even just for ourselves as adults, it's for the children. Because that next generation is fast coming up. I'm almost 40. My oldest son will be 15 this year. So I do think about the world that he's going to inherit from my generation, and did we do all that we could do to give his generation a really great start in life? And I think there's a lot more that we can get done. So of course we know we're not voting for Joe Biden. There's really not any candidates that I would vote for. And I mean, just to make sure you guys understand, Yvette Carnell and Antonio Moore have not endorsed any candidates. They said it's way too early to choose a candidate, but I really like what I'm hearing from Marianne Williamson. So as of right now, I am supporting her to at least get her to the presidential debates. I think that is so important to do that because people will be able to see why Black people deserve reparations, what it means to have a candidate support reparations for ADOS peoples and only ADOS. And I just feel like that conversation has to be had, and I do think she has a very great shot of winning. I'm like, no one thought Trump was going to win, and he won. And, there was a lot of polls saying Hillary Clinton was, tapped to win in the 2016 election, and she did not win. So you just never really know how it's going to turn around. And I know people have been talking about the Electoral College and blah, 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 but I still say go out there, and all you can do is do your best. All you can do is cast your vote and hope for the best. All you can do right now is donate $1 at least to Marianne, Marianne 2020.com. So Marianne2020.com. Oh my gosh, guys, I just have so much to talk to you guys about. So aside from Biden, there was this guy on his radio. I wish I would have remembered his name. But he had a lot of key points he was talking about when it came to the disenfranchised communities that Black people come from. And he kept going back to how important the education is, like as far as like educating just, I hate when they say people of color, but like minorities or non-white people about entrepreneurship, economics, and like all these really key elements. And I recorded some of what he was saying, but I don't know if I have the video on me, and I really don't want to take up time looking for it. So I'm going to try to see if I have it really quickly, but if I don't see it fast enough, I'm probably just going to keep going. I think it was this video right here. Hold on a second. In a quarter mile, take exit 60. Okay, this is the video. So I recorded it on my phone because he was kicking so much good knowledge. Like I was like, oh my gosh, I have to talk about this. Let me see if I can get it. Continue for 2 miles. I made a note to myself of something he said. And I can't really hear it. Okay, that's what he was talking about. So he basically was saying that he said this amazing quote, and I wish I would have gotten his name. I'm sure I can find it if I research hard enough. But he was talking about how the alternative to capitalism is socialism. And he was talking about how socialism is really not the answer. And if anything, socialism is actually the reason why Venezuela is in an uprising right now because of like just being a socialist country, I guess. I don't really know much about Venezuela, but I know socialism. And socialism, socialism is like just focusing on, actually, I'm trying to think of the right words to say it, but it's really about like focusing on like just a social aspect of society. So you're saying, we're going to focus on treating people humanely, doing things for everyone. And the first thing I think about when someone mentions socialism is welfare, like you want to think about the well-being of others and the well-being of American citizens. And I want to research this really quickly because I'm pretty sure someone has said this before. I think he said the alternative of capitalism is socialism. Okay, so it says capitalism, I think it says socialism is the alternative And when I think about socialism, I think about Bernie Sanders because he is like known for promoting and pushing for all these programs that's supposed to help make, American citizens' lives better. Even though, his people, Jews, are getting reparations, his answer to ADOS is socialism and welfare programs. And it also reminded me of Kamala Harris. She has every a Lift Act, which is basically a welfare program that's going to lift everybody. So I'm just wondering, like, how's that supposed to close the wealth gap? By lifting everyone up. So that means, people who are doing better than ADOS is going to continue to do better because they're all getting lifted up. Then you have Cory Booker, who has these things called baby bonds, like stocks and bonds. So he calls them baby bonds, where he's basically proposing giving like $1,000 every year. And to me, all this sounds like it's like a tax credit, which is what we already get on our taxes, on our income taxes. So I'm not sure how that's supposed to close a wealth gap as big as it is. And I don't understand how any of their ideas can be considered justice for the enslavement of Africans slash African American peoples, ADOS, because of course when we first got here, we were Africans. Then we became, African Americans. They took everything from us, our culture, etc. But I don't understand how their Bernie Sanders, Kamala Harris, and Cory Booker's solutions can give us justice for what happened to just us. It didn't happen to anybody else. So let me put this in as an alternative to capitalism. Okay, so and what the guy was saying is nothing wrong with capitalism. It's the fact is the issue is that our children are not being educated properly to benefit in a capitalistic society. So let me say that again. So there's nothing wrong with capitalism. The problem is that we don't this government does not set it up so that everyone has a fair shot at having real success and opportunity in this country. As far as like being an entrepreneur or getting a really high paying job. And he actually used this one example of like the college scandal that just recently happened. And that was just a perfect example of like how the rich can just pay for their children to get into the colleges that will give them the access to these great jobs. Another thing he was saying was that children who are in these lesser, I guess, lower income communities, they just don't have access to those connections that will help them maneuver around in society to like move up the ladder and be successful. You're kind of just stuck with your group of other low income people, unless you get lucky and get pulled out of your, like your low income neighborhood and you can go to Yale or, go to some Beverly Hills school or something like that. So that's something I thought was important to talk about, was just capitalism versus socialism. And someone answered this. So this kind of socialism is alternative capitalism. Social market is the most common alternative to both socialism and capitalism. Free enterprise and private ownership is preserved, but what powerful moneyed interests are allowed to do with their wealth is regulated significantly. Let's look at what is socialism. So it says socialism is a political and economic theory of social organization which advocates that the means of production, distribution, and exchange should be owned or regulated by the community as a whole. Then you have policy or practice based on the political and economic theory of socialism. A transitional social state between the overthrow of capitalism and the realization of communism. So say said, what does socialism mean in simple terms? That's more like it, right? It said the term socialism refers to any system in which the production and distribution of goods and services is a shared responsibility of a group of people. Socialism is based upon economic and political theories that advocate for collectivism. In a state of socialism, there is no privately owned property. So, like I said, it's basically welfare and more welfare programs. And that's all Bernie Sanders, he's like known as like the socialist presidential candidate. I mean, that's all he talks about. Oh my gosh, look at this. It's right up here. Welfareism. You see that? Am I even seeing this? This is crazy. I mean, that's all he ever talks about is these Medicaid for all, and you know, just socialism. Social. Like he said, he did not believe in financial money given to ADOS for reparations. Like when people ask like him about reparations, he would say, "What do you mean? What do you mean? What do you mean?" It was so annoying, and I believe his answer, because he's racist and a white supremacist, I believe his answer was to say, well, we can create these socialist programs and that'll answer that question of like the black people who are struggling. But every time I think about welfare, the first thing I think is, while socialism is great, they can do that, go for it, but we still want our check. You know what I'm saying? Like when we when we were being enslaved and discriminated against and our communities being burned down and we weren't allowed to get jobs or buy homes with the FHA loans that were really created just for white folks. We couldn't go to the good schools. Our schools are still crap to this day. They don't allow our homes to have any real property value in it, which is where the schools get their property taxes based on the property values. The modern day lynchings that we're seeing are called suicides. I mean, there's so many injustices done against black people. But then when it's time to repair a race, a group of people that you constantly have attacked for centuries, your answer is to do something for everyone. But you weren't attacking everyone all these centuries. You were just attacking black, like ADOS peoples. How do they think we're that stupid? That's the crazy thing to me. It's like, it's insulting how stupid they think we are. So you see this word welfareism, and I always tell people, like, I can't go to Africa with welfare. I can't leave the country. I can't travel. I can't pass that welfare down to my kids. Like for instance, affirmative action was kind of like a socialist program. It lifted all the minorities up. It was supposed to be just for Black Americans, and they started throwing other groups in there, like people of color, quote unquote people of color, or quote unquote minorities. And it became like a program that kind of lifted everybody up. And black people kind of fell to the bottom. The more groups they added in that they felt were more important than us, we fell further to the bottom. And now they're kind of chipping affirmative action away from black people. And so it's like, how can we say that if they say, okay, for your reparations, we're going to give you these programs, that these programs are going to still be in existence for our children and our children's children and our children's children's children? We can't. I can't. That's not a legacy. I can't pass that down. It's not anything tangible. Like, I can't put that in a will. It's just so ignorant that they think that anyone will be falling for that. And people actually are falling for it, but it's usually going to be idiots, like people who aren't paying attention to what's going on around them, or, people just probably like other non-black people who are, suffering, and they know that they're not entitled to reparations, and they're okay with the welfare program and stuff. Plus, they're usually going to benefit more from these socialist programs. Let me look at welfareism because it's such a strange word. It says the principles or policies associated with a welfare state. Okay, so let's move on to the next topic that I want to talk about. So, and speaking about, continuing with the presidential election, like, we want to be clear that we're paying attention to every single candidate that comes into the race, right? So I was watching, my favorite, The Advice Show, and Phil was talking about this crime bill that was discussed in 94. And you have black people that actually are backing Biden because they're still trying to live through that Obama glory and trying to kind of get any kind of piece of Obama they can get, So it's like, okay, Obama can't be president anymore because he served his 8 years. So we're gonna we're gonna vote Biden in because he's the next best thing or the next closest thing to Obama. So when people bring up the 94 crime bill, a lot of black people might say, well, people change, people evolve, blah, 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 right? So I was really, really shocked to see that there was a video of Biden actually doubling down on the crime bill and how the decisions he made back in 1994, he's not ashamed of those decisions. So he's basically, as ADOS already believed, he is still that racist from 1994. So let's go ahead and play this clip.
Another thing about how perspectives change over time. Bobby Rush, member of Congress, said the other day, "I'm ashamed that I voted for the 94 crime bill." Are you ashamed of that bill?
Not at all. And in fact, I drafted the bill, as you remember.
I know that.
And by the way, we talk about this most.
Sorry, guys.
Black lives really do matter. But the problem is institutional racism in America. That's the overarching problem that still exists. And we should be talking about it. And you look at it, the legacy of racism in housing, and jobs, and so on. But having said that, if you take a look at the crime bill, of the money in the crime bill, the vast majority went to reducing sentences, diverting people from going to jail for drug offenses into what I came up with, the drug courts, providing for boot camps instead of sending people to prison so you didn't relearn whatever the bad thing that got you there in the first place. Put 100,000 cops in the street. When community policing was working, neighborhoods were not only safer, but they were more harmonious. And when the reason why the cops originally opposed my 100,000 cops, this community policing piece, is because it's high intensive and it means they got to get out of their cars. So they literally got out of their cars and learned who owned the local drugstore, the local neighborhood bar, whatever. And they were engaged in the neighborhood, which built confidence so that the African-American woman living in a corner alone where the drug deal's going down in front of her house knows she literally used to have your phone number as a cop. She'd call you and say, "John, they're out in front of my house, but you're not giving me away, right, John?" No. And he didn't. So we had enormous success. Now what's happened is we've cut the funding 85%. We've gone out there and we're going through Baltimore now. Look at the areas we're going through here. I'll lay you 8-5. The Baltimore Police Department is considerably smaller than it was in 1985. There are things I would change. I opposed, for example, the carjacking provision that the administration wanted in. But by and large, what it really did, it restored American cities.
Which is a lie. It actually ripped apart American black cities. So, yeah, so that's Biden. That's you guys, you guys candidate, whoever's thinking about voting for him. I'm sorry, guys, I have like all these texts coming in while I'm trying to do my thing. Okay, so anyway, Biden is crazy. That video was crazy. I wasn't buying anything he was saying. There are studies that show the more interaction between cops and black people gives higher risk of black people being murdered by the police. So I just don't, there's more crime in Baltimore than ever. I just don't, and let them tell it, Chicago, Detroit, Atlanta, I would even say even California, but these are with, Hispanics. But I just don't see how that crime bill improved our cities. You know what I'm saying? It's like the only thing that improves the cities is when gentrification happens. And when that happens, miraculously, when white people want to come back to the cities, somehow, some way, crime just disappears. Um, and like I did I know you guys, if you don't remember, there's a video I did like a while ago, and it was showing like how, crime, those gangs were broken up in California, the Los Angeles, like those, Crips and Bloods, etc., because of gentrification. And basically it became too expensive for those gang members to live in those neighborhoods. So it wasn't more policing and more police on the streets getting out of their cars, or neighbors calling, talking to the cop because she has his number, which is a lie. Black people are still very untrustworthy of cops. I mean, look at Freddie Gray in Baltimore running from the police, and then look at it, what happened to him, and so it's like he had every reason to fear the cops. They killed him, so it's just, oh my gosh, it just it's like hard to even watch these videos sometimes, like just looking at him saying these ridiculous things and him pretending that his crime bill helped the nation. It's a lie. It's just a bold-faced lie. Even he couldn't even really pull that off, like him picking up the phone, pretending some neighbors calling about some drug. I'm like, give me a break. Like, you put the drugs in the neighborhoods. The government and the police put those drugs in the neighborhoods, and you know how to get them out of there if you wanted to. You put the guns in the neighborhoods. Like, where do black people get money from to buy guns and drugs? We're not creating drugs in the hood. It's coming from Colombia and other places outside of this country. How does this stuff even get into this country like that? Like, America can put a man on the moon, but you can't stop drugs from entering the country. Like, give me a break. Everyone's got, getting their cut off of this legal drug industry. And that's really honestly probably why they're not going to make marijuana legal anytime soon. Plus, you got too many black men in jail for these ignorant, marijuana laws that helps build America. America's never, ever, 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 ever. I have told people this so many times. America has never existed without black labor. It's never going, it doesn't know how to be successful. I don't want to say it's never going to be successful without us, but it probably will never be successful without black bodies. It's like it started with slavery, and then they just would keep creating it. They don't know America does not know how to be successful without black free or very low cost labor. So now we have mass incarceration. And if they claim they were doing away with that, they will find another way to make it where black people are stuck. Maybe it's going to be the socialist programs. If they do that instead of giving us reparations, we will be broke by 2053, guys. I promise you. And we will be third-class citizens, and we will be reliant ever more than we've ever been on the American government. And we see what they're doing to us already. And we actually have more, I guess, household income or money. I wouldn't even really call it wealth, but we have more money than we're going to have in 2053. And they're already killing us with impunity. They're not getting in trouble. And we're going to go on to see the next video that I want to show you guys that's leading up to this. It's just so unbelievable, like how much trouble we get into in this country. Like, it's so easy. I feel like, I never felt this way as a child, but it's like now I just feel like it's so easy for black people to be arrested for something and put in jail for something, or shot and killed. It just feels like such a reality now in 2019. And I do feel like this country is going backwards, and it's going to continue to go backwards for black people and really this nation. Like, white people staying on top, black people staying oppressed. I feel like it's going to continue to go backwards unless we get the right candidate in the White House. So let me go ahead and go to this next video I wanted to show you guys. Ooh. Is it still going? Okay. Sorry. I closed it out. I thought it stopped. Okay, let me go.
Yeah, 911. This is Carla. We're here emergency.
Hi, this is off-duty officer. I need EMS. I'm in number.
What's your
I'm at
Do you need police as well or just EMS?
Yes, I need both.
Okay, what's the address?
I'm at apartment number 1478. I'm in 1478.
And what's the address there?
It's 1210 South Lamar, 1478. Yeah.
What's going on?
I'm an off-duty officer. I thought it was in my apartment, and I shot a guy thinking it was my apartment.
He shot someone?
Yes, I thought it was my apartment. I'm fucked. Oh my God. I'm sorry.
Okay, and where are you at right now?
I'm in, what do you mean? I'm inside the apartment with him. Hey, come on.
What's your name?
I'm Amber Guyger. I need to get me, I'm in,
Okay, we have help on the way.
I know, but I'm gonna lose my job. I thought it was my apartment.
Okay,
Hey, man.
Hold on.
Fuck.
Okay, stay with me, okay?
I need my niece supervisor.
We have a...
Hey, bud. Hey, bud. Hey, bud. Oh, fuck.
Let me stop this video for a second. I cannot deal with her bad acting. So basically, she's pretending that she's cares about this guy in between her. Basically, I mean, the first thing I heard was her trying to have some Becky tears to get some sympathy, but then she was talking normal again. And then I keep hearing her saying, hey, bud, hey, bud. I mean, if you're giving real medical attention to Mr. Botham, I don't believe you would even be able to talk on the phone like that. I think you would be a lot more stressed out. You'd be out of breath. Was she trying to give him CPR? I just feel like there was no steps taken to save his life. And for the life of me, like I watched another video with on the Advice show, and this woman that was a neighbor, she basically pulled out her camera phone and showed Amber Guyger pacing back and forth before she actually called the police. It just, I don't know, just nothing is making sense. Like, it doesn't add up. Like, if you shot someone, for one, the woman that was the neighbor, the black woman, she said that there's no way you can, like, mistakenly go to the wrong apartment. Like, it's just so obvious. There's signs everywhere telling you what floor you're on. And it's just really would be difficult to, like, end up on the wrong floor, going to the wrong apartment. Like, it's just very unlikely. And the fact that she had time to pace around, I feel like if it was an accident, why weren't you just immediately calling the cops, immediately trying to give CPR, trying to save his life, trying to put pressure on the bleeding? The whole thing sounds so fucking fake and staged. And her video already showed, the black woman's video already showed, I think her name was Bunny. I cannot remember her name, but her video showed her on her cell phone that it just seemed like, I want to say Amber Guyger was like planning what to say with another one of her cop buddies before she actually made the 911 call. But you'll see throughout the rest of this video, her mainly being more worried about her job. Like, that was the first time I heard her crying, was when or fake crying, was when she started to worry about what was going to happen with her job. Like, she's going to lose her job. She was talking about a supervisor. She kept saying, I thought it was my apartment. I thought it was my apartment. You could see that there was really no real concern for the victim, for Mr. Botham. Like, I don't know. I just didn't hear that at all in her call. Like, oh my gosh, I can't believe I shot him. Like, are you okay? You know, like there just seemed to be no concern for him whatsoever. There's some other great videos. One second. Okay. So let me go ahead and play.
I thought it was my apartment.
I understand. We have help on the
I thought it was my apartment. Hurry, please.
They're on their way.
I thought it was my apartment. I thought it was my apartment. I could have sworn I parked on the 3rd floor.
Okay, I understand.
No. I thought it was my apartment. I thought it was my apartment. I thought it was my apartment. I thought it was my apartment.
And what's the gate code there?
I don't know.
You don't know? Okay.
I thought it was my apartment.
They're trying to get in there. We have an officer there. You don't know the gate code?
No. I thought it was my apartment.
How does she not know the gate code to her own apartment complex? That's fake. Why does she keep saying the same thing over and over? It's just awkward, like her trying to pretend that she's like stressed out or something. It's just so awkward to even listen to this.
Okay, and what floor are you in right now?
The fourth. Hey, bud, they're coming, bud. I'm sorry, man.
Okay, where was he shot?
He's on the top left.
I think it's interesting that she's pretending she's talking to him, but we literally hear nothing coming from Mr. Botham. Like, no, nothing. I would think that if he was still alive, he'd be saying something like, please, someone help me, come help me, or something. Like, it's like he's just laying there silent. Okay.
Okay, you're with Dallas PD, right?
Yes. Oh my God, I'm done. I didn't mean to. I'm so sorry. Hey, bud.
They're trying to get there to you, okay?
I know. Stay with me, bud. Holy fuck.
They're almost there. They're already there. They're trying to get to you.
Holy fuck. I thought it was my apartment. Holy fuck.
You would think somebody who's a trained police officer would have a better sense of how to stay calm in this situation and do what she needs to do to save his life instead of repeating the same stupid line over and over. And again, I just don't understand how she doesn't know the gate code. I feel like she is pretending she doesn't know the gate code to give Mr. Botham time to die.
That was my apartment. Oh my God. I'm so sorry. Oh my God.
Okay, they're trying to get there to you. Do you hear them? Do you see them?
No. How the fuck did I touch it? How did I use this for? I'm too tired. Hurry. Over here.
Okay, go ahead and talk to them.
No, it's me. I'm off duty. I thought they were in my apartment. I thought this was my floor.
That is literally the dumbest excuse I've ever heard for killing somebody. So his name is Botham Jean. And I'm like, wow, just who gave her that story to go with? And of course, it's going to work because she's white and she gave some white woman tears. So I think we do think it's interesting that they will release this video at this time. I think she's about to go to trial. So of course they're trying to get some sympathy for her to say, oh, look how she just seemed so regretful and sorry for what she did. It was clearly an accident. Let's give her 10 years and, for third degree manslaughter. And then we're going to say she already has it for time served while she was waiting for trial. It's just a load of crap. And that's why I keep looking over this video. No jail time for Caucasian incel that raped a student. I'm not sure if this is the same story that I was reading before, but basically I've been reading like quite a few stories where there's like basically white males getting no jail time for being sexual predators. And it's just more of that Me Too, hashtag first them, where white people just, it's just so blatant now. And it probably, the crazy thing is, it probably was always like this and we just weren't paying attention. So let me go ahead and go over my last story that I want to talk about is with Ta-Nehisi Coates. And I just remember being like basically very annoyed and outraged because they did not mention throughout his whole, speech or whatever he was giving on his interview, he didn't mention ADO West at all. And I'm just outraged that people keep talking about reparations now, but they never give credit as to why reparations is even a topic of discussion in 2019. So let's go ahead and have a listen.
A larger national discussion with his landmark 2014 essay of slaves into a larger national discussion with his landmark 2014 essay, The Case for Reparations. That conversation continues in institutions across the country. Georgetown students recently voted to pay money to the...
Me personally, I'm wondering, like, why aren't they having Yvette Carnell and Antonio Moore on here? Or why does someone, I just don't know why they're going. Maybe they're declining to go to their show. Maybe Carnell and Moore are declining to go onto these talk shows or whatever because they know they're going to get their words twisted around. But I just don't see why they're dredging up someone who wrote an article back in 2014 and asking him anything about this. But it is, to some degree, it's like, okay, it's fine. All he did was write an article, guys, first of all. All he did was write an article. He did it went nowhere else. And he's saying he's shocked to see it still. The conversation is still continuing. It's like, well, what did you expect? All you did was write an open-ended essay, basically, and left it just there. And what did you think was going to happen afterwards? Like, sorry guys, it's late here, but what do you think was going to happen afterwards? All it was going to be was just more talking. It's just like now, like the politicians who had to have their arms twisted to agree for reparations for ADO West, they are agreeing mainly to studying reparations. So it'll be still more talking, no checks being cut. It's just more talk. So let me go to save Yvette Carnell's video because she, I'll be watching that probably tomorrow. It's getting late here and I'm just like, just exhausted, guys. So let me go and play this video, then I'll be wrapping my video up.
The descendants of slaves sold by the university. And in January, 50 U.S. representatives co-sponsored a House bill to study reparations, and Democratic presidential candidates are also raising the issue. Ta-Nehisi Coates is here only on CBS This Morning to discuss. Hello, Ta-Nehisi.
Hi, Gail.
Listen, I remember that masterpiece article in Atlantic Magazine. We all remember it. It was 7 pages, 16,000 words. And at the time, there were a lot of eye rolls about, like, what is he talking about? That was then, this is now. And now, 5 years later, that conversation continues. Did you think that this story would have legs? And what do you make of all the discussion?
First of all, absolutely not. I did not. I think, I did quite a few interviews around the time, and I viewed this, and to some extent still view it as a generational struggle. When you're a writer, you are fortunate if anybody pays attention to anything you do.
Yeah.
So you have to write out of, some sort of deep-seated belief. So I'm shocked to see this continue on now.
In the beginning, even you weren't in favor of reparations because people think it means now we're supposed to pay every black person money because of what happened in slavery.
Yeah.
What does it mean exactly?
And it's possible that you should do that, but we haven't gotten clear on what exactly the process of reparations is.
That's not what you're saying, though.
Well, I mean, my basic argument in the piece that I made was that the relationship between African Americans in this country and the broader country for most of our history has been one of extraction, taking resources out of the community to profit other people. The period of enslavement, obviously, for 250 years. The period of Jim Crow, when you had basically a system of serfdom in the South, the period when black people could not vote, meaning that resources or taxes taken out of their community, they had no ability to determine what was done with that. The period of the New Deal and FHA loans, when we basically built our modern middle class that black people were actually cut out of, even as they contributed to the system. That explains to a large extent, as far as I was concerned when I wrote the article, the 20-to-1 wealth gap that divides black and white America. And so I basically became convinced that there was no other policy beyond reparations that could handle that.
And your argument is it comes right up to the front door today. This is not in the past, that this legacy is alive and part of our culture now.
Very much so. And I intentionally wrote the article the way I did because I was very aware that often what people say about reparations is, well, slavery was a long time ago, those people were dead, it's not affecting anything today. And so it's very important to me that I start with somebody who was alive and who was in the present, and part of a phenomenon that you could see throughout many of America's cities.
Let me ask you about the question of the pace of change. You said this is a generational question. So give me your sense of how fast the conversation needs to take place, because it obviously needs pushing and pressure for immediate action. But on the other hand, as you say, you can move too fast.
Yeah, as I said in the piece, and this is still where I am today. I think the proper next step is HR 40, which is the bill that Sheila Jackson Lee now has, was pushed for years by John Conyers to convene a study on exactly what happened, studying the period of white supremacy and enslavement in this country, and the possible means by which reparations could happen. I think that's extremely, extremely important because I think we need to hear from African American communities about how they feel, any sort of reparations should be met. I think this country has not gone through a process of educating itself, on what,
really understanding the atrocities.
Yes. And I think that's a really, really, I think we are not talking about a bribery payment.
But because of what you're talking about, it's actually become a live wire issue on the campaign trail right now with some of the presidential candidates. But you pressed President Obama at the time on this idea, and he was very skeptical, said he didn't think theoretically, but not politically possible.
Yeah. And honestly, I actually was shocked he even said it was like he even gave credence to the theoretical portion of it. But
is it politically possible now? I mean, has the pace of change been actually that quick?
Who knows? I mean, who knows what's politically possible until it happened? I was one of these people who did not think a black president was politically possible. Mm-hmm. There were large swaths of Americans, who I know who didn't think Donald Trump was possible. Who knows?
Well, at the very least, you've certainly opened up a conversation that people are really talking about and taking very seriously today. Mm-hmm. I encourage everyone to go back and read that article again. It's a very long read.
It's a long read. It's not short.
You learn a lot.
And hope for writers who toil in anonymity.
Yes, indeed. Very well
So
done.
the crazy thing is, like, okay, so I'm a keen believer on not reinventing the wheel. Like, if you have someone that's doing the work for you, I will support you. The only thing I had an issue with this article, I can't stand Gayle King's stupid ass. I try not to cuss, guys. I almost got through the whole video without cussing, I think. But I can't stand her dumb ass. Like, it's like she kept trying to go back to he was the one that made reparations a conversation in this political, presidential campaign. And I'm just like, how do you see that? Like, he wrote an article 5 years ago. And if he's saying he's shocked to see that conversation still happening now, then that means he wasn't pushing for shit in 2019. And for him to kind of take that credit was disheartening. But it's like, you have to look at it from both sides. It's like as I was watching this, it looked like very, because you guys know, like, before they allow people to come on TV on these little white supremacist owned media, they're going to brief that person. Like, in this case, Ta-Nehisi Coates, on what he can and cannot talk about, what he can and cannot say. And with that being said, like, I don't know if they did that with him, but I'm pretty sure they did, because we live in a racist country. And at this point, I don't put anything past anyone. But I believe even with that briefing that probably happened, I think he did a great job representing in what he was trying to still say. Like, for instance, just so many good points that I can't recall. But like even near the end when they were like, oh well, the white news anchor or reporter, whatever she wants to call herself, was saying, well, basically like, do you even think it's possible today in 2019? And he was like, well, Donald Trump wasn't seen as a possibility, and I didn't think a black president would be a possibility. And I thought that was a great turnaround to Obama's stupid self, who did not see reparations as like a real political or theoretical possibility, but yet his black ass became president, which no one thought they'd see that in our lifetime either. So I feel like there was a lot of like, if you have your third eye open, guys, I feel like there's a lot of ways that he still supported black ADOS peoples and reparations, and still gave it justice in when what he was talking about. I just wish he would have somehow thrown in ADOS at the end and said, it wasn't me who brought this conversation to the forefront. It was the American Descendants of Slaves. It was Yvette Carnell. It was Antonio Moore. And Sandy Darity's working with the two of them. I try to give credit to everybody. Tariq Nasheed has said things to get ADOS on the map. So, and of course, like, I love how Yvette Carnell, I'm pretty sure Antonio Moore does this too, but I love how they constantly remind us that it's all of us that's making this movement happen. And, this movement would not be a movement if it wasn't for all of us. So I'm just trying to do my little part in my little corner of the world. And I know that, I'm just, I know that like one person can make change, even if you think your change is so small, like even just voting or donating $1 to Marianne Williams, and I can't say it enough. Her numbers have gone down significantly. So she is, which is a good thing in this case, because it starts at 65,000 separate donors that she needs. And now we're down to like 6,000 something, I believe. So you have the power, ADOS people. You have the power, Black people. Like, you can do this. I know things are hard. Trust me, I know it. I know. Trust me, I know. But you still need to walk with your head high. You're standing on the shoulders of your ancestors who are extremely strong and persevered through all kinds of inhumane atrocities that I don't believe anyone else could have made it through. And when you think about that, like, that's what you're made of. That's what's in your DNA, is that you're still here. And forget about all the drama, because I've seen a lot of drama on Twitter just today. Apparently, we're being attacked by ADOS is being attacked by the NAACP of Atlanta. So, we're going to have to call and demand that something happens to them for Twitter harassment. But it's just really strange how many people are attacking us who are people who look like us. And it just makes you wonder, because of course NAACP was created by like white folks, and it's probably still, fully, like, really funded by Jews and white people. And they, the white supremacy does some of their best work behind blackface. They always find a Black organization or a Black person to do their dirty work. And it's always done best that way, because you can't prove it's like a racist thing when the person looks like you, right? So all I have to say is I guess they're paying Talib Kweli, NAACP, probably even in Cobra, Mark Thompson, all these civil rights. So I guess these George Soros or whoever white supremacist is behind this is paying them very, very well. Or they're eating a lot of butter biscuits. Either one. They're eating good enough to continue to slam or try to come up against ADOS. But the reality is we're not going anywhere, guys. So I just went through my Twitter and I saw so many people on Twitter that's hashtag ADOS, putting ADOS in their Twitter handles, putting ADOS on their name in Twitter. And I just feel the love. And then on Facebook, my last video that I posted, I created that video because I saw someone on my friends list talking about, I want to say he was talking about reparations and what we should be doing in our communities once we get our checks. And we're going to speak this into existence, guys. So you say once we get our checks, not if, because there's no if about it. There's no ifs, ands, or buts about it. Like, we are getting our checks. We're getting our land. We're getting what's due to us in justice for our ancestors who died for us to get a little bit further. We owe this to them, right? So we keep fighting and we keep fighting. And it's, when I think about what they went through compared to what we have to go through to make such a significant difference, like, it's just, wow, like, it's just such a big difference. Like, they were enslaved, they went through lynchings, they went through blatant overt racism, they went through a lot, guys, and we're here as their descendants. And it's an honor. Like, it's such an honor to me to know that they are my ancestors. Like, they're so strong to me, and there's no stories. Like, I know some people be like, oh, I could never have been a slave. You don't know what you would have been doing in that situation. And all you can say is, at the end of the day, they made it. They survived it, because we wouldn't be here if they didn't. That's the bottom line. Like, we just wouldn't be here. And it kind of reminds me of one last thing I want to talk about was Dynas Demir. Gosh, I had to stop watching his videos because it seems like he's on his own rampage. Who isn't at this point against ADOS? I just don't understand. Like, Black people have so much self-hate. I just don't understand it. It's like, who would be against getting justice for your ancestors? He acts like he's just African, like he just ain't African American anymore. And I'm like, well, take your ass to Africa and stay there. Like, don't keep coming back here. And it's like he's trying to, I don't know what he's trying to do. Like, is it because he's trying to do these tours and he wants to make sure people sign up? Like, what's in it for you, Dynas, that you were so against ADOS, even though we have videos where he was for ADOS? So it's just strange. But anyway, so his last couple of videos, well, I watched one video and then I saw the title of another one. But he basically was saying, like, how we're going to be fourth class citizens if we stay in America, the ADOS people, because he had a story about someone, he was in California walking down the sidewalk and saw a white lady trying to kidnap a dog from a homeless Black man because she wanted to save the dog's life over the Black man's life. And, and then I think his other video, let me see if I can find it, because I'm not going to pretend to try to get this on the top of my head. But then he had another video about us going to Africa, and it just made me think about certain things that people don't talk about. It's like, I don't know if this was it where it said, why don't the majority of Black Americans have an exit America strategy? And I'm just like, oh, he's really laying it on thick. Here he said, renouncing. Yikes. He's just on a roll. Like, dear Black America, stop hating on Africa. Oh, that's O'Shea Duke Jackson. Okay, so he's gotten desperate. He's talking to O'Shea Duke Jackson now, because we know that guy he's like, almost, I would say he's another Tommy Sotomayor, to be honest. I don't really watch his videos a whole lot, but the few times I have, seems like a self-hating Negro as well. So then you have renouncing Africa by living like a fourth-class citizen in America. So the thing that's crazy to me, like, I don't know who Dynas Demir is talking about. I know there's Black Americans out there who probably do denounce Africa. But you have to remember that Africa denounced us first. Like, they sold us into slavery. Then they never came back to get us. They abandoned us. And so now that we're creating a tribe of our own and we're uniting and trying to look out for ourselves, because that's what we basically were left to do. Even though up until this point, we were always including everybody named Mama. And we're just seeing that just doesn't help us to be pretending that we have all these friends. We don't. I think Dr. John Henry Clark said it. African Americans have no friends, and we do not even other Africans, not even other Black immigrants, as you can see. And I'm saying that generally speaking, because of course I do have friends who are, and people who I see as family who are not African American. You would consider them Black immigrants. But just on a general perspective, it seems like we don't have friends anywhere. And so with Dynas Demir's video renouncing Africa, you guys can watch it in your free time, because I don't like to make my videos too long. But I just feel like, first of all, like, Black people don't have Pan-Africanism is dead because Africa does not reciprocate the Pan-Africanist movement. There is no country that's offering dual citizenship. Out of 54 countries in Africa. None of them offer dual citizenship to African Americans. Some of them might, but what is the pathway to getting that? Like how long did it take Dyson? He said it took him 7 years. He was going back and forth. Who has that kind of time and money? Then, second of all, like some of the countries, if you cannot get a citizenship in that country, in that African country, you're not able to own land. You can only lease it for like 50 some years or whatever. So what happens when I die? I don't have anything to hand down to my children and my grandchildren and my great grandchildren. What kind of legacy is that? So why am I leaving America to go lease land somewhere and can't pass that down to nobody? So I'm supposed to pay on some land for 50 years and not be able to pass it down? That's the next issue. That's another issue. Then the next problem people don't want to talk about Dynast Amir of Search for Uhuru. And the crazy thing is, like, I liked his videos, but it's like he's just kind of gotten psycho lately about Black Americans exiting America and fourth-class citizens. There's no such thing. We're not fourth-class citizens in America. We're third-class citizens. I guess he's trying to be funny because he's like, we're underneath the dog, the family dog or whatever, you know? And I'm just like, give it a rest. You know, Dr. Claude Anderson is actually a scholar in economics, and he said we're third class, permanent third class, not fourth class. But anyways, the next thing you had to think about, so this is why reparations is so important, guys. This is how everybody trying to work their way around reparations, it doesn't make sense. It will never fucking make sense. Most Black people, including myself, we cannot even afford to get a ticket to Africa, let alone moving ourselves, our entire families, everything over to Africa, right? I have looked several times at African tickets. They go for about $1,000. Then you had to find somewhere to stay because we don't know anyone there because we were cut off from our motherland. And no African country has come back to claim us. And I'm going to speak slowly for the idiots in the back seats who just cannot fucking get it through their thick heads why we are pushing for reparations, why we keep saying we are not xenophobic, we're not against Africans or any other Black immigrants. We are saying reparations, this claim that we have with the U.S. government is just for us because we were the only ones that our ancestors were enslaved. How hard is that to understand? Why do I feel like everybody and mama keep trying to jump into the pot to try to get a check? Go to your country, go against your government and put in your claim for your reparations. The next thing we wanted to say was our reparations is to help other Black people, other Black countries. So yeah, I would love to move to Africa when I actually have a fucking check in hand. Because right now, being that I am a quote unquote fourth class citizen, Dynast, I cannot afford to get my ass over to Africa. I can't afford to get my 5 children over to Africa. And if you say shit about me having some kids, like God forbid I want to have a big family, because I love children. And I don't think I should be deprived of of getting to have kids. But if you notice, if you look at a lot of politicians like Donald Trump, they have a lot of children. And you know why they're allowed to procreate and have all these freaking kids? Because they have the fucking money to do it. So I'm supposed to be deprived of having kids because what? Like, how many times are Black people going to be punished for being Black? How many times? When are we ever going to get justice? Dynast cannot tell us to move to Africa when he isn't paying our way. Then once we get to Africa, let me continue why we aren't going to Africa, why we're not having a Blexit. Because we don't have jobs over there, guys. Remember that? So when all these African Americans, 40 million strong, 40 million African Americans take off and go to Africa, what jobs? Where the fuck are they? Because right now I see people in South Africa fighting the foreign Africans who are coming to their countries. Like, how silly do they look fighting each other talking about that one politician talking about, these foreign Africans that are coming into South Africa, they're taking your jobs, you black South Africans. And I'm like, are you freaking kidding me? What jobs? What jobs? No, the white people took your fucking jobs. They took everything. This is like beyond ridiculous to me. Like I cannot. I actually stopped watching Search for Uhuru because I could not deal with it anymore. Like I'm like, this is crazy to me. Like I am so sick of everyone attacking ADOS, but no one has a better solution. And how are you gonna get justice for our ancestors? Like, how are you gonna do that? What's your fucking plan, Dynast? What's your plan, NAACP? What's your plan, Mark fucking Thompson? Like, what is everyone's goddamn plan for justice for our ancestors? I would love to know. I would love to know. I am all ears. Because telling us to take off and pack up and run away to Africa is not the answer. We don't have the money. We don't have the money. If you guys watch this other family, native born, and I love this family, probably because they remind me of my family. They're just a beautiful family. But this family has, how am I not subscribed to this? Anyways, I haven't really been, you guys know this is my new channel, so I haven't really been on here. But this family has 5 children. Like my fiance and I, altogether, my fiance and I have 6. We have 6 boys. So I love big families, always have. And we're making it work. I know some people are thinking you're on welfare. We're not on welfare. Not that it's any of your business, but we're not. We're working and, cutting back and doing things we got to do to provide for our family. But we have so much love we just love children and we're amazing parents and so on and so forth, of course. But I was trying to see if I could get like a video. Oh, here we go. Right here. I just wanted like a quick picture. So you see here, they have their 5 beautiful children in Africa with them. And I mean, there's nothing more beautiful, especially when they're trying to commit genocide on Black people. There's nothing more beautiful than seeing us procreate. That's what we're on this earth to do, guys, is to have kids. So, you got people like Diners who has like 1 kid and he's probably not having any more because he doesn't think he can afford it or whatever. And it's like, what's wrong, Diners? Why don't you have more kids? I mean, you live in good, you're Nigerian now. You should be able to have a bunch of kids, whatever, right? So it's just so unrealistic to tell us to pack up and move to Africa. Like, most of us can't afford it. That's just the bottom line. There's really nothing else to say about it. Like, do we dream of moving to Africa? Of course we do. That's why I'm subscribed to Native Born's, channel. And I constantly think of like ways of like, how can I get to Africa? What would it cost me to get to Africa? What about citizenship? Like, I worry about all these things. And I really have to ask African politicians, the African countries over there, like, why is it so hard for our African Americans to repatriate to Africa if you really want us to come over there? If you really want us to come over there, at least give us easier access to citizenship status, because I want to own land. I want to own my home, my property on that land. Like, I want to be able to start a business, or God forbid we ask for some jobs. There's no jobs. There's no jobs. How irresponsible is that of people like Diners to tell us to go to Africa when there's just, how do we do it? And it's just so heartbreaking. And to me, it's like, okay, so do we go to Africa and continue to fight for our ancestors? Because no matter what anyone says, like, I want justice for our ancestors. If this is any other race, they would be demanding justice. And I don't give a shit what they're doing. It's the right thing to do. You did too much wrong to my ancestors to think that you're going to just get away with it and not pay a dime, not pay anything in restitution. Everyone else is getting reparations but us. Everyone is getting reparations but African Americans. Like, what, are we not worthy enough? We're not important enough? We're not worth it? We built the whole fucking country, but we're not worth reparations? Like, I'm so sick of it. I'm so sick of it. And maybe it's because I stopped watching his videos for a while, but because I still support Diners, like, even though he makes me sick right now with whatever the hell he's doing with himself, I support Black people who I feel care about Black people. But there's always, you're never going to agree with everything. any black person says. Just so you don't agree with everything any other non-black person says, right? So it's like, I always tell myself, don't throw the baby out with the bathwater. I feel like I'm telling myself that so much. Like don't just, sometimes you have to just listen to the message and not really focus on the messenger so much. So there's a lot of great knowledge coming from Dynasty Mirror. Like there's a lot of great coming from his channel, Search for Uhuru. But I had to take a break because all his videos lately have been kind of feeling like indirect attacks of ADOS. And I mean, maybe I'm just being sensitive because we're being attacked by everyone else under the sun, but I literally cannot take it. Like Dr. Boyce Watkins, I'm not supporting him right now because he went on a kind of like a campaign of hating on ADOS because Yvette Carnell and Antonio Moore wouldn't let him in the movement. I'm like, give me a break. What are you mad you couldn't take over the damn movement? You and your freaking ego. Like, it's too much. It's too much. So, like I said, I really missed you guys. I love talking to you guys. I think eventually one day I'll probably start doing live chats or super chats, whatever they call it, because I just want to kind of, as I build up to it, I might want to talk to you guys like real time. Might even have you guys calling in. I like when I see the videos because Dinus does that a lot. I know I talk about him all the time. I don't know why, but it just, a lot of his stuff applies to what I'm talking about. That's it. But he does it all the time where he does these live videos. And I like how people, actually, yeah, Phil does it sometimes as well. I love Yvette Carnell's format, how she does her video and then she has people calling in. I just love that because I feel like she gets to get her point across. And then after the second half of her video, she kind of like, she basically interacts with her viewing audience. And I think that's just incredible. I don't have it set up for people to call in with me, but I'm sure it's not going to be difficult to do. I'm sure you just get a number or something like that. You just take calls. But I also like when people have their videos and they're just kind of like real time reading the comments that are coming in and talking to the people. So it's like you're getting that connection. So, I'm moving towards that probably eventually. Yeah, so I don't know if I told you guys before, I'm an introvert, so I'm not big on like being on camera. That's not really why I'm here. I'm here to get a message out and connect with like-minded people who think like me, or people who feel like there's no one out there who think like me, but there is. We're here. ADOS is here. Conscious people, we're here. Hoteppers, whatever you want to call us, we're here and we're not going anywhere. The beast is awakened. We're up. I always say like a sleeping beast. We just quietly just breathe and like just sleeping, and people have no clue what is about to hit them. So that's it, guys. I don't think this video was too long. If this is correct to say this 43 minutes, but I'm not sure if that's accurate or if I'm looking at the right thing. But yeah, so you guys know how I roll out. Until I see or speak to you guys again, take care of yourselves and each other. Love ya. Peace, love, and light. And I'm out. Bye.